Hello, my name is John Svek. Welcome to this ALL24 video. Today I'm joined by guest coach Charlie Taggart. Coach Taggart is the assistant defensive line coach at Wilfrid Laurier University. Thanks for being with us here.
Hey, I'm pumped to do this. We'll get right into it. Today I'm talking pass rush technique. Okay, so right here you'll see a little bit of a picture. It's a little blurry because it's blown up from DV Sport. But essentially what we're looking at is the ideal picture frame where we're getting our hand to the elbow, driving our knee through, flipping our hips, turning our shoulders and getting skinny all at once. So in a nutshell, we're going over the club rip and the two-hand swipe today, or two-hand swat. So what are we trying to do with this technique? First and foremost, we want to stay on the fastest track to the quarterback as possible, right? The fastest line to the quarterback is going to be a straight line, and the less distance you have to cover, the better. One of the things we want to do is we want to minimize horizontal movement to what's needed. So we don't want to stand there shaking with an offensive guard or tackle the entire play because odds are in the Canadian game, there's so much quick game. If we don't get up the field right away, we're just going to have to resort to getting our hands up. So it's all about trying to get to that launch point as fast as possible. We're going to protect our chest and deliver a blow simultaneously with our hands. I'll get into that more later. We're going to minimize surface area as we do this and use our core to rotate our upper body rather than just throw our hands, right? And we'll dive into the film and we'll be able to dissect what the differences look like. And then we're going to create power with our lower body that translates into our club or our two-hand swipe. All right. And lastly, the most important thing, apart from your get off, is to attack the edge of the man and not the whole man. All right. So moving forward, where do we get our power? So our power is going to come from our lower body. Just with this picture here, you can see we have our outside foot down, right? Inside foot's back, and we're getting ready to use this outside foot as what I call an anchor. So we want to be anchored to create maximum power, and we want to be anchored off our outside foot so that we can drive our force into the tackle or the guard, right? What happens a lot of the time is you have your inside foot up and then you try and throw your outside foot forward. And because that's not set, we don't have any leverage to press off the ground with, and we don't have anything to generate that force. I call it we're throwing empty air, right? We're losing power. So the other thing is we need to be able to rotate our upper body and lower body towards the target, one, to get skinny and minimize surface area, and two, to generate the most torque possible to create and deliver a blow. So right here, we're just going to watch this clip. Really simple, really slow. Let me make sure I have it at the right play speed. So this is a drill that we do where we're just going to walk into the two-hand swipe, focusing on landing that outside foot down, hitting the ground with it. And as that hits, we're going to jump forward at the tackle, drive our inside knee, right, past the man, and turn our toe towards the launch point. Okay, let me just back this up to right here. You'll see we're starting to drive off this outside foot. And as this is happening, we actually want to turn that toe to a position where it's pointed at the tackle, right? What this is going to do is it's going to help us generate force into the man and help us deliver a blow. Simultaneously, the upper half of the body is going to be rotating and minimizing surface area and taking away where the tackle can strike us. Okay, so we'll just play this one more time. And then when we talk about finish, everyone says, yeah, that's great. We all rip, but where does our power come from our rip? Well, right now, as soon as that inside foot lands, we want to try and create a straight line between that foot and the ground, this knee, this hip, all the way up to our rip. So this is really where we want to start ripping. You'll see him start to dip here, and now finish, finish, finish. Get it up. There we go.
That's great, Coach. A quick question comes to mind here. I'm curious what you tell your players as far as kind of the timing of executing this. I'm sure you've dealt with, sometimes it happens too early or maybe too late in the play. So do you have any tips as far as kind of when to execute this, what kind of spacing you want with that offensive lineman?
So the most important thing is, and this is where, younger guys are going to have their struggles, is when offensive linemen start throwing the fake punch, right? What's important to know is you have to understand the offensive line philosophy where they don't want to get their hands on you extended, right? They want you in close. So you want to be able to attack the tackle or guard in a way that forces them to declare and forces them to throw their hands to protect themselves and defend a bull rush at the same time, right? So the timing piece and the distance piece is all about forcing them to actually throw their hands by being within a strike range. That takes time and effort, but it's important that you don't fall for, if you're too far away, you don't fall for the fake hands and execute the move too early.
Right.
That's one way to do it. When you get more advanced, I've actually had guys kind of count their steps, where you know if your inside foot's back, right? Or in this situation, let's just talk this one here because we have the nice picture. He has his inside foot forward. It's going to be on his first step, his third step, or his fifth step that he executes this move.
Right.
Right? Anything else, and it has to be either a bull rush or an inside move
Right.
to be able to generate torque with that foot down. So does that kind of, you know, I know that's throwing a lot
great.
at you, but
no, that's great.
All right. So here's just a drill that we do. Obviously, that's more of a progress part. So this is one of the drills that I do with the guys. We just start standing and avoiding contact. Now, the important thing is that we aren't just trying to pull away, but we're going to engage our back and lat muscles to pull ourselves, and we're going to throw our front shoulder forward in the process. So not only are we minimizing surface area, but we're actually creating maximum torque and being ready to deliver the blow and use that momentum. Eventually, we'll add hands to the progression, and then eventually we'll stagger our feet so that we can get into a more game-like position. So I'm just going to skip to a few seconds into this clip here. Right, this is where we'd start. Let me just slow it down so we get a nice clear picture. So we're just going to start by engaging the back muscles, and we're going to pull away. So again, it's all about pulling away. So right here, he's just trying to time it with my punch. The timing is, like I said, it's more about the distance than the actual timing. But it's good cognitive training to be able to operate at different times, because you don't want to be caught waiting, especially as a defensive lineman. If your hands aren't quick and you're waiting for contact, you're going to end up receiving a lot more of it than you'd like. But so right here, we're just focusing on pulling the shoulder back and delivering that front shoulder forward. So you can see he's really focusing on pulling back. And one of the critical things here is that his body is moving away from the punch, right? As great as that is, as much as we want to avoid, we want to deliver a blow at the same time. So we want to be able to approach with that outside shoulder as we get skinny to create maximum force rather than just pull away. What ends up happening to our feet if we pull away is we don't get to drive our inside knee, which I'll get into later, but it's a crucial part, right? So again, first drill you're going to do, we're going to start just avoiding contact, and then eventually we're going to get to where we go here, and we're throwing hands and creating torque with the upper body, right? If you find that some people want to start with the hands involved, if you find that you get this kind of body position where their shoulders aren't rotating, take it back a step, have them just pull away.
Right.
Have them pull away until they get comfortable with that upper body rotation. Okay. So another thing here is we want to, like I was saying earlier, we want to step through and point our toe at a 90-degree angle to the launch point. Okay. After we do that, so the last drill we just did it stationary. The next step would be to take one step with our inside foot, drive, and land it almost a crossover position, right? I know what you're thinking. Everybody in the country probably, you don't want your feet crossed. But the reality is when you flip your hips, your feet are going to stay in line, right? So here's a great example of it. This is Tavius Robinson. He's the Buck linebacker for Ole Miss currently. He used to play for the University of Guelph. Let me slow this down. This is some summer work we did before he went off, to go to the SEC. So all we're going to focus on is watch his outside foot and watch his inside knee drive. So once he takes off here, he knows it's 2 steps based on his length before he has to make contact. And as soon as that foot lands and the punch comes, because he attacks me rather than attacks the space beside me, he gets that outside foot down. Now watch, he's going to rotate that toe, and it's going to create that hip flip, right, that everyone wants to talk about. He's got nice and skinny, right? Which is going to help him avoid contact as he delivers the blow. And that knee's going to drive. Now, one of the criticisms I'd say with this clip, as good as it is he doesn't really get that knee up, right? So we want to drive that knee up as we get distance, as you'll see later, so that that kind of hiccup doesn't happen, right? So as we see right here, I'm going to get real slow so that I can talk through this as it's happening. We don't want our feet to replace each other because it means we're not gaining ground. Right? We want to consistently and constantly gain ground. So right there, he does that little hiccup and that foot, it gains ground, but that inside foot isn't gaining ground. Right? Now, one of the great things that he's doing, one of the pieces I focus on with the upper body, is he's not hitting me away from him. He's not hitting me towards my frame, if you will. Right? He's actually going to hit me and try and focus on generating the force back behind towards the side he came from, right? When he attacks by the side he came from, he's going to actually force the blocker's feet to step forward, which is going to help him prevent the blocker from recovering, right? Which is vital because a lot of times you can beat their hands, but if you don't force them to step forward or don't force them to stop their feet, then they're going to be able to retrace with their lower body and be in a position of recovery. So watch right here. You'll be able to see based on my outside foot. So I just want you guys to watch my outside foot here. I'm trying to kick. When he hits me forward, it does that little step forward, and that's what's going to prevent the recovery from the tackle. Now, I'm not 315 pounds and 6'6" and going to the NFL, but I do have a great clip here where you can see it in practice. So. Same player. This is, I think, a month or two later. Now he's at camp, or now he's in practice, and he's executing a two-hand swipe. Okay, so Tavius Robinson again. This is the starting left tackle for Ole Miss. Anyone who watched college football knows that Ole Miss averaged over 35 points a game this year. So the dude's not bad. He's a pretty quality ball player. But what you'll see here is because he has his outside foot up or back, he's got to do this on his third step or his first step. Right here, you can see he's outside the block. He's outside the arm's reach. So that's telling him, I can't throw right now. Right? Now, because he has his outside foot up, it forces him to stutter. But you'll see that head step inside. And that's not going to freeze the lineman, but it's going to allow him to get his outside foot down. Now, once he has his anchor down, right, with that outside foot, he's going to rotate the toe. And you're going to see that really exaggerated knee drive right there. That's the ideal position to be in. Now, it looks like he's crossed over, but as soon as this happens, he's going to pop that outside foot off the ground. And this is really my coaching point here, is drive that foot around quicker, pick it up and gain ground. But he ends up capping his depth, and now he's on an angle where he can attack the quarterback. Right? If you watch it again right here, I want you guys to notice the upper body. He gets the offensive lineman's wrist and elbow, right? So the way I teach this is your two hands have two different purposes. Whatever your inside hand is actually just deflecting contact and protecting your chest. Your outside hand is now delivering the blow and the force into the lineman, and that's what's going to be able to, propel him forward, as you'll see this lineman's upper body goes, right? And it's going to be able to stop him from recovering. So the outside hand to the elbow, inside hand protects the chest, right? We create that turn, we get skinny, we deliver force, and it forces the block, and the momentum goes back towards where you came from, so the blocker can't recover. So keys, like I was saying earlier, with the two-hand swat, the inside hand protects your chest, while the outside hand delivers a powerful blow. We want to hit them past us, not towards where we came from, not away from us. I have some clips to kind of show us why. And we don't want to step away from the offensive lineman, right? We want to step vertical, because as soon as we change our momentum, we change where we're driving at. Tavius there was in a really tight alignment, so we had to carve a really sharp angle. Later, I'll show some clips where it happens when you step vertical rather than horizontal, and the damage it can do to an offensive guard or tackle. And we want to, so to create the rotation, we don't just want to turn. We want to focus on engaging our back muscles in the side that's pulling and clenching them and using that to create our rotation with our core. It's going to help us get skinny, and it's going to help us deliver a blow. All right, so now these clips are going to go down, and each one serves a different purpose. These are actually in chronological order throughout a game, and we're only going to be focusing on one player here. We're going to be focusing on Toronto Argonauts draft pick Sam Acheampong. All right, you're going to see the different stages of when you execute with good technique versus poor technique and the impact it makes on the game. Okay, not to say that Sam had poor technique here, because we worked on it a whole lot, but you'll see the differences. So right here, he steps, right? He's got his outside foot down right now, and he doesn't throw his club till his inside foot lands. Right here, this is what I call, and I referred to earlier, as throwing air. Right? Without that outside anchor on the ground, we can't directly impact the lineman with that club. The other thing it doesn't allow us to do is get skinny. Right? We don't have that upper body rotation, and because of that, the offensive lineman isn't as affected, and now he can stay in our path. So a play that I think should have been a clear sack on an RPO or play action turns to a quarterback pressure. It's not bad, but it's not ideal, right? We give them an opportunity to make a play. So next play here, I'm going to draw your attention to the opposite side of the field. Again, it's Sam Acheampong. So right here, we're going to see him get up the field, and now he does something a little bit better, right? This is, again, chronological in the game, so it gets better as it goes on. Now he's got his outside foot down when he throws the club, right? You can see that force affect the offensive guard. Now he's actually created some movement. The only thing that we don't like about this is how much horizontal movement he does, right? Because he attacks inside the frame and not the man's edge. Now he has to redirect outside, and it's going to force him, when he comes off of that drive step or that jump through with his outside foot, he actually jumps on a horizontal angle rather than a straight line. So instead of a tackle for loss here, for him, he does an impact on the play, but he doesn't get the tackle himself, right? And if you're playing D-line, you got to be able to create some havoc in the backfield, right? That's what coaches love to see. The other thing we're not doing right here is we're not rotating our upper body and getting skinny. And one thing you'll notice, this is a club rip, not a two-hand swipe. The lower body mechanics and upper body mechanics are completely identical apart from that inside hand. And really, it's a player's preference kind of thing. If you're going to club rip, some guys like to stab or long arm into their club rip. Other guys who are quicker like the two-hand swipe. It's player to player, whatever they're most efficient with. But again, he doesn't rotate the upper body, and it forces him to move horizontal. Same with how he gets too far inside the frame. And now he's whiffing on the tackle, getting a fingertip on it, but that's about it. Okay. So now we have third quarter, same game, same player. He's going to attack vertical, and he's going to work a two-hand swipe. Now you'll notice here the lower body mechanics are much better. He gets a little too far inside the frame. He doesn't attack half a man. And what that does now is he's inside the blocker's frame. But he has that outside foot anchored, right? He can drive off that and drive that inside knee around. That's what allows him to get past the blocker and create force and effect in the offensive guard. You can see the jolt right here when he takes the contact, right? The other thing is, well, he's crossing over. Again, he's driving that, and his outside foot gets to the ground so fast that it's a non-issue, right? And now right here, he should throw a rip. But why doesn't he win this cleanly? For two reasons. One, he attacks a whole body. Two, he doesn't rotate his upper body again, right? You got to rotate the upper body, reduce surface area, create maximum force into the blocker to get up the field, right? And again, it's not a sack. It's an impact play, no doubt, but it's not a sack. So this is the final clip here. Third quarter, I want to say this is the same possession or the possession right after. He gets inside. Now he's going to work a hesitation, like a jab step. And he ends up on what I call that outside anchored step. He ends up at the offensive lineman's edge, and now he rotates his shoulders, right? You can see the power difference in the guard that it creates, right? He crumbles him to his feet. Now he's getting up the field, and that's the long elusive sack that he's been waiting for the whole game. So I'll play it one time cleanly through. He's going to jab step, anchor the outside foot, drive the inside knee, work vertical rather than horizontal, and get that well-deserved sack.
Outstanding. Outstanding. That's an outstanding breakdown, Coach, and a great progression there of, you know, we always talk about it's a long game and you want to set things up and work towards it. So I love the way you kind of laid that out there.
Oh, you know, it's my pleasure being on here. I'm just glad I hope someone can take something from this, and, you know, there's a few more better pass rushers in the country.
I do have one final kind of question here, just as my mind goes. When we're talking about the course of a full game, my thought would be, if someone really develops this and they're comfortable and confident in this move, what do you think is a good counter to this as a kind of a secondary move to kind of work again throughout the course of a game?
So my personal belief is that the best counter move to two-hand swipe is another two-hand swipe, as long as you're not too far up the field. So the way the footwork lands, let's use Sam here. We get that outside foot down. See how he's back in a position right away where he can launch again off that anchored step, work that same move to the edge. Now he doesn't need to here, but that's a great opportunity. For the club rip now, I'd say because you have a little bit more freedom with your hands, it depends on where the blocker positions himself on you. Do I try and club rip and now he crosses my face or centers up with me? So now I have to dig that rip into his inside pec and hump him past, right? Or does he just stick it and give me the inside where I can either pull it out to a swim if I'm a quicker guy, or I can pry it up and into a long arm and bolt. There's tons of variations there, but for the swipe at least, work it again. Work it again until you're past the quarterback. And then once we get into that rip, now we can make a judgment call. Are we too far past? Do we have to hump or spin? Or are we at the depth of the quarterback and can we just work the edge?
Right. Perfect. Well, outstanding, Coach. I really appreciate your time in putting this together and coming on and presenting it. So thanks again and all the best.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me on.